Hey guys, I just did a video rambling as usual about, my chronic pain and diabetes. So I thought I would talk just a little bit about mental health and some of the things I've been through. And I've probably already repeated some of this in other videos. But just a trigger warning, if anything, depression, anxiety, anything related to that will trigger you, just, don't watch the video. It's not going to be that graphic, but it's tough, So I had depression, and I'm 45. I've had depression and anxiety since I was a little girl. But back then, when I was a little girl, it was considered, oh, she's shy and embarrassed. But really, I think it was a little bit of anxiety. And then when I get a little bit older, it turned into depression. And then there's many events that followed that just elevated my depression and anxiety. A lot of it is a relationship that I had with my two youngest children's father. He was a cop, and he did not treat me well. And so I'm going to go into that in another video about him. I mean, I talked about him a little bit, but I just want people to know that you can overcome so many things, because I did. I don't know how I'm here today, honestly. If it wasn't for my kids, I wouldn't be here because of all the shit I've been through. And I apologize for cursing. It's just, when I think back to all the pain and misery, not just the physical pain that I've been in for 13 years, but before that, how I got treated in my relationships, how I let people just walk all over me. But the relationship with my ex, who was the cop, who's my son is 16, my daughter's 18, that's their father. He was abusive, He did everything except for hit me, because he couldn't leave physical marks on me, or, his word against mine, And he intimidated me. But I'm just gonna leave it there. That's gonna be another video. The point is, I overcame that relationship. I never thought I would. It was 5 years, and it was terrible. The beginning was great because he put on a big show. I believed everything he said. I left my dream job and moved 2 hours away. I mean, I fell for it, and everybody told me. Everybody, co-workers, friends. They said, are you sure this is something you want to do? And he was pressuring me to move, up there too. And, and I gave in. Anyways, I want to talk about, depression, anxiety. I've had it in the past, since 2012. Okay, that's when I started pain management. And it's also when I started actively seeing a psychiatrist, okay? And I do get medication to help sleep and anxiety, but nothing crazy, because I'm on so many different medications from all my different doctors. They have to be careful what they give me, They don't, they don't want me to overdose if I'm on this and that and this and all that. But so my anxiety has been for as long as I know. I remember going to school feeling like everybody's staring at me, and I still have social anxiety. It's bad. It's really bad. But when I worked in my dream job as an accountant, somehow I overcame that. I still had anxiety. I was afraid to talk to people. I was afraid people were judging me. They weren't. I know that. But when you have anxiety to that level, that's what you think. You think of things. All you do is think. And when you're in chronic pain or have a chronic illness, like many of us do, we have a lot of time on our hands. And people think that's great. Oh, you don't have to work. It's not like that. When you're in pain, time, you don't look at the clock. You just want that 10, 15 minutes you might get of a hot bath or the heating pad or whatever pain medicine you might take. So a lot of people really don't understand how that affects your mental health. Any illness, okay? Depression. When my mother died, I was 19 years old. I already had depression for years. Even though I was happy-go-lucky, deep inside, most people do keep it in. They don't want to tell people because they think it's a weakness. And so I've been depressed all my life, even in the good days. Even when I was pregnant with my children, who are my life, I still had depression. I still had anxiety, social anxiety. I still have it to this day, guys. I mean, this is a little bit embarrassing, but there's times where I'll be dressed, ready to go to the store, and I have to sit down and make sure, I have to prepare myself to leave the house. I know that's weird. Some people might not understand that. When you have anxiety, it's almost like I'll make sure nobody's outside. I just want to get to my car and go. Even though I have great neighbors, are nice, I just want to get in and go. But it's, it's social anxiety, going to the store, and I know this isn't true, but I always tell my psychiatrist, I just feel like everybody's looking at me or judging me. And a lot of that also stems from childhood, guys. A lot of that. Everything doesn't always go back to childhood. I know that that's a stigma. Okay, well, you had a bad childhood. No, we were poor. We were dirt poor, but my mother made sure we had good birthdays, holidays, all of that. Somehow she made it happen. But we were poor, and I was determined not to be poor when I got older. But my mother dying when I was 19, that hit me. That that was heartbreaking. It still hurts. It still hurts 26 years later. Oh, and I try not to feel sorry for myself, but I'm like, well, it's not fair, She never got to meet any of her grandkids. For me, from my siblings, yeah, I have 4 siblings, and they all have children, except for one. But that put me in a bad depression. I didn't know what to do. I was lost. I mean, I was the youngest of 5, but I still had to fend for myself. I was 19. I was always mature for my age, but I was like, what am I going to, I can't believe this. I quit my job. I didn't know where I was going to live, and so I'm still struggling to this day, like with that loss. And I always try to tell people, without preaching, that you need to appreciate your parents. Both my parents are deceased. I had a stepfather, he's deceased, and my biological dad died when I was 3 years old. So, it's, I don't know. It's been tough. There's so many stories I could tell you. And then Lee, my ex, the cop, who's the father of my 2 younger kids, he put me through a lot, That put me in a worse depression. I mean, I don't know how many levels of depression there is, but what he put me through is just, it's almost unbelievable when I think back, And I've said this before, I like to do trigger warnings because sometimes it makes people stay on the video and hear what I have to say. He did pass away, okay? He was working as a cop in Vegas in 2019, Christmas 2019, that week of Christmas. And he lived in Vegas, he worked as a cop, and he got in a car crash. A young lady crashed into him, and I don't think he was wearing a seatbelt. And also, he was 6'7.5", so he could never fit into a vehicle right. His neck was always like, without being too graphic, his neck was always like bent because there wasn't enough room. And so, I think that's what coincided with his death. And I still have mixed feelings, My kids really didn't have a relationship with him. He didn't come around. He had 3 other kids, and he was in their lives, but he never really was around for my 2 kids. He never, not even when we were together. And so that relationship, the point of me talking about that a little bit is, it caused so much pain and heartache and the things he put me through. And that's going to probably be a long video when I talk about him, especially that he's a cop, I thought, like, I could trust this man. He lied so much about so many things, and I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. And I thought I was a very smart woman, but I made bad decisions, and I let him pressure me into quit my job too fast, moving with him too fast, and everything just happened so fast. So, I mean, I have a number of things. Before my mother died, before I was in abusive relationships, I already had depression and anxiety. I had a tough time in school. I was teased. I was bullied. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad, okay? And I did end up in a I don't even know what to call it, a neurological institute is what they called it. I think I spent 17 days there, you know, because of my depression and anxiety and everything. If you go back to my video that talks about me being 14, it explains more there, you know. I made a dumb decision because I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to go to school because of bullying. And you can go back to the video about the 14 years old. It's in the title if you want to know details. And so there's just, the point is, I've been through so much in life. And the only reason I'm saying this to you guys is if there's somebody that hears this and knows, like, this woman's been through all this and she's still somehow smiling. Guys, I'm in so much pain 24 hours a day, but life goes on. You know, you have no choice. You have no choice but to just keep living and just keep, you know, keeping on. If I didn't have my 3 kids, I don't know where I'd be. Because when my pain started, my kids were 3, 5, and 9. So that's all they've pretty much known for the last 13 years is me being in pain. But it took a long time to even get it to a point where it's semi-managed right now. I'm still in so much pain. But I also know that my pain clinic is limited to what they can do for me. I mean, obviously I have a history of having this done. Nobody would do that and pretend like they're in pain and lie. But on paper, I'm a healthy woman. There's nothing wrong with me except for the arthritis in my lower back. And so, you know, that's difficult when you're undiagnosed, because you want to know. Always wanted something to show up in either the blood test, MRIs, you know. And nobody should want something to show up, but I did because I wanted validation. I needed validation so they knew, like, this girl is serious. Like, she's not here for drugs or whatever. I was naive to the whole thing that people went doctor shopping or ER just to get pain meds. And, you know, thinking back in retrospect, it looked like that's what I was doing, because I'd go to one ER, they wouldn't help me, and then I'd go to another one. I just didn't know what to do, because my regular PCP doctor, she was prescribing me a few pain meds here and there, but it just wasn't enough because my pain was around the clock, you know. And so every 3 to 4 hours or 5 hours taking a pill, yeah, sure, you're going to get 15 minutes, you know, maybe where you're feeling okay, but then it's not going to last. And so these are some of the things, you know, I'm losing my mother, a lot of childhood trauma with how I got treated, abusive relationships, and then dealing with diabetes, depression, anxiety, undiagnosed pain. Not just low back, spine, okay? The spine pain started after the spinal cord stimulator got removed. I don't know if that's, you know, I'm one in a million, guys, that these things just happen to me. Remember, the point of me telling you guys this is not for acknowledgement. It's just so you know you're not alone. You can get through different things, you know? I mean, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but I remember at one point saying, I'm jealous of people in wheelchairs because at least they can't feel their pain. And if there's anybody here in a wheelchair, I'm sorry if it offends you. But I'm trying to break down. I was so desperate for help. You know, I didn't want to feel the pain. I wanted to raise my kids. They were babies. I had 2 babies, you know? And I don't know how I got through it, guys, but here I am. My kids are 23, 18, and almost 17. And they're amazing. Yeah. I know this is like a repeat video, but the main point I wanted to make is that you are not alone. I know you feel that way. You know how many times I've cried in my room? How many times? I thought in my head, because again, when you're, you know, have a disability or chronic pain or anything, even though you're in pain a lot, your head spins and you just keep thinking about the same stuff. Like, why is this happening to me? And I don't think that's feeling sorry for yourself. It's like, why me, you know? Why me? But it's the same thing, you know, there's people way worse off than me. I know that. I acknowledge that. And I respect that. Just people fighting for their lives. But in my own way, I'm fighting for my life because I don't want to get to the point where I unalive myself. And I've almost came out and said that to my psychiatrist, but you need to be very careful what you say to them because they can put you away if you talk. But I've said many times, I said if I didn't have kids, I wouldn't be here. That's what I would say. And so I am a little nervous about all my kids being grown, and then, you know, I'm single. You know, I've been single for as long as I've been in pain, you know, because I don't want to be a burden. Plus, when you're in pain and miserable all the time, you just kind of want to be alone, but it's also lonely, so it's catch-22. So there, you know, there's a lot of mental health things that I've been through, a lot of things I've overcame, and I'm still fighting. Just keep fighting. That's my advice right now. You're not alone. I'll just keep saying that. Keep fighting, no matter what you're dealing with, even if it's not an illness. If you're in an abusive relationship, get out, okay? And I'll talk about how I got out of mine, because they say when you're in an abusive relationship, it could take like 5-6 times. Like the woman would leave, come back, and you know what I mean? And that's what I did. I kept coming back because he lured me in, and I fell for it. So there's so many different circumstances and situations people could be in, and just, guys, don't give up, you know? I don't know how I'm here right now making this video, you know? I just have this feeling that, like, I want to reach out. I want somebody to know that I'm putting myself out there on the internet saying some very personal things, because I don't want you to be afraid to feel the way you feel. You don't have to vocalize your pain or write it down or anything, but just listen, guys. We've been through so much, you know? It's not about me. I know everything I'm saying is about me, but it's about me acknowledging you guys. The people, other people that are struggling and they feel alone, and whether they're in a relationship that they feel like they're trapped in. And I'm going to go into that when I do the video about my ex, the cop. I was trapped. I felt trapped. I was intimidated. I was scared to leave. I mean, I'm 5'3.5". He was 6'7.5". So he was about 300 pounds, and I'm not petite, but I'm a lot smaller than him. And so he did a lot. He did a lot. He did a lot to me, besides all the lies and manipulation. But when I finally got away from him, I think that's why it's easier to talk about it, because this was years ago. When I finally got away from him, I felt free. Like, I can't even explain it. Free. Like, I don't have to worry about somebody, like, insulting me or putting me down or blah, blah, blah. And so when I get into the video about him, I'm going to have to be careful what words I use, because I don't want to get flagged. And by the way, I'm not monetized. There's ads on some of my videos, but I'm not monetized. I doubt I ever will be, and that's not my purpose on here. But I would like to get into the algorithm. I don't know much about it. I just know that if you like the video, I think if you like somebody's videos, it'll kind of push it to other people that might be interested. So, guys, I can't believe how fast time goes by. I'm already going to 19 minutes. You're not alone. Again, you're not alone. My email is on my YouTube. You can email me. You can write it in the comments. I don't get notifications unless I look at each individual one, so I'm working on that. You know, I did a 4-part video series about how I was abused. I did talk about it, but there's more about Lee that I haven't talked about. So I'm going to end it here, and if you watched this to the end, thank you so much. If you could like, subscribe, it would mean a lot, you know? I appreciate it. Like, I'm here to help. This is not for me. Well, it is in a way. It's therapeutic. But it's to let you know that there's somebody here. There's somebody here that knows how you feel. If you've been in these situations, whether it's depression, anxiety, mental health, pain, abusive relationships, any of that. And if you don't have that and you have other issues, that's fine too. This channel is not just about me, my pain, and all that. It's open. It's open. But that's just how I started my channel. I wanted to talk about my pain. And so that was 10 years ago, and now I'm just making these videos and just talking, and you know, I said I'm going to try to keep these low, so I'm going to say goodbye. We're at 20 minutes, and you are not alone. You're special. Don't believe any of the insults from whoever's saying it. I don't care if it's family, friends. Don't. Do not let people diminish your self-esteem. Don't. I know it's hard. You got to be strong. Be strong.